Hi, my name is Morgan, and I have struggled with hypochondriasis, or health anxiety as I believe we're calling it these days, for over 15 years. I decided to start this channel because the internet can be an extremely dangerous place for people like me. For as amazing as the internet age has been, the ability to self-diagnose using Google and more recently AI tools only compounds our issue. I felt like another resource was needed, a place where someone can go to hear about what is out there that can actually help people, not just make things worse. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that ever really fixed my fears about my health was knowing that I was doing everything in my power to stay healthy. That way, if I ever actually do get sick, I know I did everything I could to avoid it. And for me at least, this has helped me overcome what at various points in my life has been a debilitating mental health issue. That will be the focus of this channel. Every single thing I do to stay healthy. I am not a doctor. Do not take this as medical advice. I am just going to tell you what has worked for me, and you can decide for yourself if it can work for you as well. I'll briefly share my story just so you know where I'm coming from. When I was 8 years old, my father passed away suddenly. It was an extremely traumatic event in my life, although I didn't realize how traumatic it was until many years later. I went about my life and never had any issue with anxiety of any sort, but also never really processed my father's death. When I was 31, I had my first child, a son. When he was 8 months old, I took out a life insurance policy for the very first time. As part of that process, I had blood work done, a full CBC panel. My triglycerides came back too high. That will happen if you have a Mountain Dew every day in your 20s. So I looked for ways to lower them, and one of the things I came across was data showing that fish oil could lower triglyceride levels. I bought some supplements and didn't think too much of it, until one day I started having some very strange symptoms. At certain times and seemingly at random, I would become so fatigued that I could barely move my body and would have to lie in bed for hours until it passed. I also developed brain fog and couldn't concentrate or think clearly. I had other strange symptoms as well and was scared and confused. One night in particular, I remember vividly, as I was so sick, I believed I was about to die, and all I could think about was leaving my son the way my father left me. I finally put two and two together, and with the help of the internet, and later an actual doctor, realized that my symptoms lined up with mercury poisoning, which almost certainly came from the fish oil supplements. I patted myself on the back for solving the mystery, tossed out the fish oil, and went about my life. Except from that moment on, something new happened every time I got sick. I didn't just get a sore throat. I became convinced I had throat cancer. Every headache wasn't just a headache, it was a brain tumor. Every muscle spasm was ALS, and so on. Anytime I wasn't feeling 100% perfect, I spiraled into a pattern of worst-case scenario thoughts, which in turn led to psychosomatic symptoms that made everything 10 times worse. In particular, I developed a buzzing sensation in my stomach. For long stretches of time, I would feel a buzz in my stomach that occurred every 3 to 5 seconds like clockwork, as if I had swallowed a cell phone that was on vibrate and receiving a call. This would last anywhere from a few minutes to an hour each time. I had a CT scan done of my entire abdomen, which of course showed nothing. My doctor looked at me like I was going insane. More importantly, I felt like I was going insane, knowing that something had gone terribly wrong and not being able to get any help from my doctor. I started to see a psychiatrist. It didn't take him long to pinpoint the cause of my issue, the trauma of losing my father, and worrying I would do the same to my little boy. He prescribed antidepressants, which didn't help much, and had other side effects that I didn't like. Eventually, the psychiatrist said to me, "Well, if you want to stop worrying about dying every time you get sick, maybe you should focus on not getting sick." It was obvious advice, and yet it struck me like a bolt of lightning. I hadn't been focused on my health at all. Diet was poor, no exercise to speak of, and even though I looked healthy on the outside, I knew I wasn't doing much of anything to actually live a healthy lifestyle. It was time for a change, and I began my journey, which has led me here. Over the course of these past 15 years, I have done hundreds of hours of research, read pages and pages of scientific studies, talked to doctors and nutritionists, and kept up to date on the latest breakthroughs. I almost never get sick, and if I do, the symptoms are always extremely mild. I had COVID in early 2020, and my only symptom was a mild body ache for a few hours. My school-age children almost never get sick either, as I have incorporated everything I have learned into their lives as well. What will follow on this channel will be an in-depth look at the supplements, diet, exercise, and every other tool in my arsenal that I use to stay healthy. If you're struggling with health anxiety and looking for something, anything to help. As the saying goes, like and subscribe already, and let's see if what has worked for me can work for you as well.